The drama begins with the female lead, Jo, who was not good at studies, but she loved painting very much. That's why she got admission into a third-rate arts college. Today, scholarships were being given out at the college, sponsored by Mr. Wei Qing, the CEO of You and Me Corporation, who is the male lead of this story. So, when Jo's name is announced for the scholarship, no one believes it, because her academic situation in college was just like it was in school. She tells her friends, maybe there has been a mistake or it must be some other Jo's name. The professor confirms it and says, yes, it is you. Jo goes into shock, and to give the scholarship, Wei Qing himself comes to her. Jo looks at him and asks, how are you here? This is where a flashback begins from 1 month ago. Jo had gone to the Mountain Art Gallery Hotel. She had no experience in hotel management, but Jo impresses the supervisor by talking about her other talents like lifting heavy things and finishing every task on time. She came here especially to propose to her crush on Chinese Valentine's Day, who was about to arrive on a trip. Her crush's name is Ming Cheng, who was her neighbor since childhood. Jo books a room for him. She writes a love letter for Cheng, puts a ring inside a cup with it, places it under the pillow, and is very happy. But then we find out that Cheng only considers Jo a friend. He calls Jo and tells her, after reaching the hotel, everyone will go to see the meteor shower together. Jo is very excited. Just then, the owner of the hotel suddenly arrives with his girlfriend, who is none other than Mr. Wei Qing. Jo knows nothing about this. The supervisor tells Jo, welcome the boss. On the other side, Wei Qing, wearing a mask, starts cleaning the room that Jo had booked for her crush. Now, here we find out that Wei Qing has a dangerous level of OCD. He is allergic to human touch. After cleaning, he also has all the things in the room thrown out. When Jo finds out about this, she gets very worried. But Wei Qing calls his supervisor and says, the room I am staying in has not been cleaned properly. He demands, assign a butler for me who will be around me 24/7. The supervisor first scolds Jo for not cleaning properly. Then, as a punishment, he makes her Wei Qing's butler. Jo takes advantage of this opportunity and goes to the room to find her letter. Going there, she finds out that the entire layout of the room had been changed. She doesn't find the letter on the bed because Wei Qing had already trashed everything, but she sees something in the pocket of a suit in the wardrobe. As soon as she goes inside, Wei Qing appears in front of her. Jo's hand touches his face. Because of Jo's touch, Wei Qing screams loudly and immediately runs away. After a while, he comes out of the bathroom and scolds Jo and says that she has been made Wei Qing's 24/7 butler. Wei Qing says, only come before me when I call you. Then, Wei Qing is having dinner with his girlfriend, where he sees a girl and thinks, this is... Jo remembers her, because this is the most popular girl in the university. Her name is Rin. So here we find out that Rin had once saved him from falling into a lake. Her touch did not cause any allergic reactions, so Wei Qing had made her his girlfriend. But he started to doubt, maybe Rin was not the girl who saved me. On top of that, when Rin touches his hand, Wei Qing's allergic reactions start. That's why Wei Qing puts on gloves. After this, we learn about Wei Qing's past, that even after years of treatment, his allergy was not cured. One day, frustrated, he drank a lot and went to the lake. At that moment, he was about to fall from the bridge due to a slip, but a girl saved him by holding his hand. Wei Qing had no reaction to that girl's touch. The locket also fell right there. Just then Rin arrived, so he thought that Rin had saved him. Then he goes to return the locket to her, but Rin cannot recognize that locket. That's why he thinks perhaps Rin is not that girl, and when she touches him, Wei Qing starts having a reaction. Now he was completely sure that Rin was not that girl. Once again, to find the letter, Jo secretly enters Wei Qing's room. But while hiding in the wardrobe, she gets caught again. She makes many excuses, but Wei Qing doesn't believe anything she says. When he pulls her out, she comes close to him, and they touch again. This time, reactions appear on Wei Qing's body, which makes him even angrier. He gives her a warning. If you come back again, I will get you fired from the job. Then Jo gets a call from Cheng, who tells her, at night, we will all go to see the meteor shower together. Jo is happy about this, but she remembers the letter, so she goes to Rin to ask for help in this matter. Rin agrees to help, but in return she asks her, bring me contraceptive pills. Wei Qing overhears this from a distance. Now Jo goes to the supermarket, which makes Wei Qing very angry. He calls the supervisor and tells him, fire Jo. Jo buys things from the shop and comes back. By then Wei Qing has broken up with Rin, but the supervisor doesn't let Jo go inside. She finds out that Wei Qing got her fired. She gets very angry because she was just doing a task for his girlfriend. She now waits for Wei Qing so she can get her letter back. Wei Qing comes out to his car, and by then, Jo hides in his car. On the way, Wei Qing finds out that Jo is hiding in the back seat. He tells her, get out secretly or I will file a police complaint against you that you are stalking me. Joe was not ready to leave without the letter under any circumstances. He tells her repeatedly, "I don't know about your letter." Joe doesn't believe him, so she starts checking his suit, which leads to an argument. In this chaos, their car crashes into stones. Joe gets out and starts running, but Wei Qing also follows her to catch her. She threatens him, "If I don't get the letter, I won't spare you." Wei Qing tries to run, but Joe pushes him down and searches his suit. Meanwhile, Chung and his friends reach the hotel. Chung calls Joe, but her phone was left at the hotel, so she doesn't attend his call. Now, Wei Qing's car was broken, so they both walk towards the bus stop, arguing the entire way. But then Joe apologizes to him, because there was no letter in Wei Qing's suit. When the rain stops, Joe and Wei Qing start watching the meteor shower. Then when the bus arrives, they both get on and leave. Then before leaving, they both say to each other, "We never want to see each other's face again." Wei Qing calls his assistant and tells him everything. She is that poor girl who came here with her friends to see the meteor shower. He adds, "She was neither a spy nor a reporter." By calling the supervisor, Wei Qing gives her permission to stay in the hotel. Joe arrives to get her belongings, and the supervisor tells her, "The boss has given you permission to stay here tonight." Just then, Chung arrives. First, he scolds her a little. "Where did you go without telling me? And why did you come so far for an internship?" On the other hand, Wei Qing comes home and checks that he has no allergic reaction, even though Joe had touched him many times. He is stunned. Then Wei Qing sees blood in his dream, which scares him. The next day, he sends his driver to get the things he had removed from the hotel. In it, he finds a ring, whose design was like that necklace. And its design was exactly like the locket of the girl who had saved him at the lake. Now Wei Qing has a doubt. Is Joe the girl who saved me? Because I don't get an allergy from her touch. Then Joe goes back to her university where she meets her best friend Fei Fei, who works part-time as a bartender at a club. To pass the time, she gets rich boyfriends. Now Joe gets into a fight with her roommates because they used to keep their room like a dustbin. They always used to tell Joe to do the cleaning. She leaves the dormitory and goes to Fei Fei's apartment to share a room with her. Another roommate of Fei Fei lives there, whose name is Ku. Then Shuai calls Joe to remind her that she has not submitted her sketch yet, and submitting a sketch is necessary to apply for the Uni Corporation scholarship. So Joe makes a sketch of herself and Wei and submits it to the teacher. The teacher takes her painting to Wei Qing, so he recommends her for the scholarship. Joe then tells Wei Qing sorry for whatever happened and thanks him for the scholarship. Wei Qing says, "We have met even before the hotel." Then getting a little closer, he says, "And we will meet again." Then Joe finds that lost locket in her pocket, which she had lost a month ago. She is shocked. Just at that moment, Wei Qing passes in front of her. Joe looks at him and asks, "Have we really met before?" We find out that the one who saved Wei Qing from falling into the lake was Joe. But Joe didn't remember this. Joe goes to buy colors, but the color she wanted was very expensive, so she can't buy it. Just then, a boy, holding a trolley and wearing headphones, bumps into Joe. Joe falls into the trolley, and that boy puts all the color cans in the trolley right on top of her, and even buys them. Coming outside, he also gives Joe the colors. This boy's name is Ning, and he is the second lead of the story. Ning goes to talk to his aunt, from whose conversation we find out that he has just come here from abroad. Wei Qing tells his doctor, "The one who saved me from the lake was Joe, and I don't have an allergic reaction to her touch." That's why the doctor says he wants to find out about the allergy by keeping Joe close to him. For this, he had found out Joe's weakness, which was her poverty. In celebration of getting the scholarship, Joe throws a party for Cheng, so he tells her to apply for a postgraduate degree at his university. But for this, Joe has to pass her upcoming exam. On the other hand, we find out that Ning is a famous painter who paints under the name Shang Ran, and Joe is a huge fan of his paintings. Now Ning receives a parcel with 2 boxes, which contain girls' innerwears, meaning he received a wrong delivery. So he looks at the number written on the box and makes a call. Joe picks it up. He tells her about the boxes being switched, but Joe thinks he must be some mischievous boy. So she abuses him a couple of times and cuts the call. Coming home, Chu tells her that a boy has shifted to the floor above, to whose house the wrong item was delivered. After that, all the delivery persons were told to be sent directly upstairs. Hearing this, Joe remembers that boy, who had told her about the innerwears. Fei Fei says she was the one who ordered them. That's why Joe goes to call him. When she calls, the phone rings from upstairs. Both of them run upstairs and ring the doorbell. Ning comes out, so she asks about the parcel. Ning says, "I don't remember where I put it because I was busy with work." So he calls them both inside. The house is filled with paintings. In the process of looking for the box, Fei Fei accidentally breaks a bowl. Seeing this, Ning is shocked and becomes silent. Seeing the pieces of the bowl, Fei Fei says, "This is just a ceramic bowl. It must be cheap. I'll get another one." But Ning remains completely silent. Joe gets a little nervous, and she takes Fei Fei and runs back. Fei Fei thinks she will get another bowl for him, but she had to go to her part-time job at the club right now. so she sends Joe to work in her place, and on that day, Wei Qing had booked that club. Joe sees him and hides her face, lest he complain at the university. But Wei Qing had recognized her. Still, he doesn't say anything to her. Instead, he gifts her a very expensive necklace as a tip. Joe thinks he must have a lot of money, that's why he is giving such an expensive thing. Now Joe overhears two boys who had come to beat up Wei Qing. They were going towards Wei Qing, avoiding the CCTV. But Joe reaches Wei Qing before them and starts to take him away from there. By then, those two goons arrive and a fight starts. Wei Qing is hitting them, but the goons start to overpower him. Then Joe also joins the fight and kicks one of them. Just then, a hockey stick hits her hand, and she falls on top of Wei Qing. The goons are about to attack again, but just then security arrives and they run away. Wei Qing takes Joe to the hospital, where she is treated in a private ward. Wei Qing says thank you to Joe for saving him, and starts giving her some money, but Joe refuses. So Wei Qing says, "You can ask me for anything." Joe first tells him, "I want to get admission in Qing's university." To this, Wei Qing says, "I can't do all this. Ask for something I can give." So Joe says, "Then get me a pass in art theory. You have many contacts in our university. You can do at least this much." But Wei Qing refuses and leaves. The next day, we find out that Wei Qing has a PhD from the Royal College of Art, London. Now, for a few days, he will come to Joe's university as a professor. Therefore, he tells Joe, "I will help you with your theory studies, so that you can at least pass the exam." For this, he gives her homework to make a PPT. In the next scene, Wei Qing calls Joe to the club to check her PPT homework. In the PPT, Joe had written a theory about Shangran's painting. So she tells Wei Qing, "For the past 5 years, I have been a big fan of Shangran's paintings." Wei Qing doesn't like this at all, because he and Shangran used to paint together, but the teacher always appreciated Shangran. That's why Wei Qing did not like Shangran at all. He comes to Joe once again to test his allergy, but again there is no reaction. The next day, Joe notices that water was dripping down from Ning's room, but he wasn't opening the door. They both go from the back of the house and enter Ning's room through the window. Going inside, they see that the whole house was filled with water. Water was coming from the bathroom, where Ning was lying unconscious in the bathtub, and the water had turned red. Joe and Fei Fei were thinking, did he commit suicide? But upon checking, it turns out that it was just paint color. They both quickly call an ambulance. The doctor says that Ning had low sugar and he had not eaten anything for a long time. That's why he fainted. The doctor tells them to call Ning's family member. For now, Fei Fei goes to the hospital with him. Joe is cleaning his house when she finds the carefully kept broken bowl. At the hospital, Ning's guardian, who is Wei Qing's mom, arrives and introduces herself. She thanks Fei Fei, then Fei Fei tells her about breaking the bowl. So she explains, Ning was very attached to this bowl because his grandfather, who was a skilled and famous potter, had made it. After his death, Ning only ate from that bowl. The bowl was broken, so he had stopped eating. But his grandfather had made 2 such bowls, Ning had one, and no one knew anything about the other one. She tells all this to Joe, which makes her feel very guilty. Then the next day, Wei Qing arrives to meet Ning. After that, we are shown that Wei Qing also has the same bowl. In a flashback, it is revealed that after Ning's mom and grandfather passed away, Wei Qing's mom and dad had adopted him. Since childhood, Ning had a bowl, which he wouldn't let anyone even touch. One day, some kid threw it into the lake, so in the process of getting the bowl back, he was about to drown in the water. Wei Qing's mom and dad thought that he had intentionally thrown the bowl in the water, so they scolded and punished Wei Qing a lot. In that punishment, Wei Qing had to kneel outside in the rain to accept his mistake. Dad had even slapped him, but they didn't listen to Wei Qing even once. Since then, Wei Qing's relationship with his mom and dad has not been good at all. Because of this, Wei Qing does not like Ning. Now Joe is busy fixing that bowl, but she is unable to glue it together. On the internet, she finds out about a place where such bowls were repaired. The next day, she reaches that place. Going there, she finds out that this antiques shop belongs to Wei Qing. Then she requests Wei Qing, "Please fix the bowl. It is very important for my friend." In exchange for this, Wei Qing asks her to become his girlfriend. Joe refuses, so Wei Qing gives her a second option, to give him a kiss. After thinking for a bit, Joe agrees to kiss him on the cheek. Then Wei Qing takes the bowl to get it fixed. After this, Wei Qing comes to meet his mom, but his mom has to take care of Ning because he is still not eating. So she is also busy looking for the bowl. Wei Qing stops her and asks, "You want this bowl?" So mom tells him to give her that bowl. Seeing his mom so concerned for Ning, Wei Qing gets angry again. He says, "If he wants this bowl, then he has to come to me himself, apologize to me, and bow before me. Saying this, Wei Qing goes to a club where he drinks a lot thinking about his parents. Just then, Rin arrives there. Wei Qing tells her, I know that the attack that happened in the club that day, you were the one who orchestrated it. He warns her, don't do anything like that, and also tells her, I have now found my girlfriend, so you should stop following me. Rin asks, who is that girl? So Wei Qing shows her Zhou's photo. Seeing the photo, Rin is shocked. The next day, the bowl arrives after being repaired. Wei Qing calls Zhou to his house to give her the bowl. Zhou happily unboxes the bowl, but as soon as she sees the bowl, Wei Qing understands that this is Ning's bowl, so he drops it and breaks it. Seeing this, Zhou gets very angry at him. Then Wei Qing says, I have a similar bowl. Wei Qing had bought that bowl from Ning's father's auction. In exchange for giving the bowl, Wei Qing asks her to complete a ceremony with him. For this, he tells Zhou, put your hands behind your back and close your eyes. Then Wei Qing kisses her on the lips to find out whether he has an allergic reaction to intimate contact or not. Zhou can't even move herself because if she moved too much, the bowl would fall. So she moves backward, places the bowl on a table, and pushes Wei Qing, due to which Wei Qing falls right onto his antique collection. All the antiques break. Zhou then runs away from there, but Wei Qing takes a photo of all those antiques and sends it to Zhou. He says, you broke all this, now you will have to pay for it. Their price was in the millions. Zhou gets worried, but then she sets out to take that bowl to Ning. When Ning is given that bowl, he finally eats after seeing the bowl. Seeing this, his mom becomes very happy. She thanks Zhou very much and gives her a lot of money. She also says, in the future, you should take care of Ning, for which we will pay you. Zhou initially refuses, but takes the money when forced. Then Zhou is shocked, seeing the prices of that antique collection. She thinks, where will I get so much money from? Just then, she receives a message on her phone about receiving the scholarship money. Wei Qing's assistant tells him, Ning has been discharged from the hospital and is now living in his dad's studio. Here it is revealed that Wei Qing's dad has passed away, and the house where Ning and Zhou live was Wei Qing's dad's studio. Wei Qing tells his assistant, he has no right to live in my dad's house. Then he gives some orders to the assistant and then goes to meet Zhou. Zhou returns the scholarship money to him and promises him, I will repay your money. Then Wei Qing says, if you repay the money like this, it will take you several lifetimes to pay it all back. You don't have a job, nor is your situation such that anyone would marry you with such a huge debt. Still, there is a solution for this. You sign a deal with me, he continues. In that deal, you will follow all my orders and you will have to work as my assistant. He adds, in return, I will give you a high salary, with which you can easily repay the loan. He gives her 1 day to think about it. Zhou, in anger, stops Wei Qing and says, you kissed me forcefully, without my permission. You have to take responsibility for this. Wei Qing replies, that was just a small experiment. And then, by the way, was that your first kiss? Zhou ignores this question. So Wei Qing says, all right, in return, I will forgive half of your debt. Now you have to pay the rest. In the next scene, Wei Qing has made preparations to evict Ning from that house. Therefore, as soon as Ning comes home, he is unable to open the lock of the house because the owner had changed the password. Just then, he receives a message, which states that he has to vacate the house. Then Ning asks Fei Fei how they had entered his house last time. Fei Fei shows him the back way. Ning goes upstairs, packs his things, paintings in a trolley, brings them down, and goes and sits in a children's park because now he has no place to live. Zhou sees him and understands that the landlord has kicked him out of the house. Zhou is worried about him, so she brings him to her apartment. Ning tells her the whole story. So coming home, Zhou tells everyone, I have received money to take care of Ning. So everyone decides together, we will have to take care of Ning. Then we see that Zhou's family's financial condition is also not very good. Zhou sends money home by doing part-time jobs. Even after receiving the scholarship money, she was short of funds, and on top of that, she is now repaying a loan of millions. Thinking about this, she laments her fate. Just then, Ning knocks on her door. He says, I am hungry. Zhou makes noodles for him and brings them. The next day, Zhou arrives at Wei Qing's office and says, I am ready for the deal, because she needed money to support her family. Wei Qing finalizes the deal with a handshake and pulls her towards him. Then he says, from now on, you have to stay with me always. After signing the contract, Wei Qing gives her the first task as an assistant, which is to go to a party with him. For that, Zhou has to memorize the names and details of all the guests coming to the party. The next day, she tells Wei Qing that while memorizing people's names, she neither ate anything all night nor slept properly. Wei Qing says, I have no business with all the people whose names you memorized. Your job at that party is to find Shuzai, who is the owner of a big fashion company. But no one knows what she looks like. Wei Qing takes her with him and does her makeup himself. Then, he selects a very expensive dress for her. Then they both go to the party, where Zhou gets busy looking for Shuzai. She bumps into someone there, and that lady, who is Shuzai, speaks politely to Zhou. Zhou remembers that the info she had read about Shuzai matches this lady completely. So she follows her, but she has difficulty because she is wearing heels. Then a man recognizes her dress and says, this dress belongs to Wei Qing's family. He asks, are you Wei Qing's girlfriend? That man introduces himself. I am Wei Qing's uncle. Now Rin is also at the party. She is wearing a dress similar to Shuzai's. She starts chasing after Wei Qing. Wei Qing tells her, that girl looked better than you. Rin gets angry, so she deliberately steps on Shuzai's dress, which rips it. Rin pretends to say sorry. Everyone is looking at Shuzai. Just then, Wei Qing redesigns her ripped dress by styling it in the same way, and Shuzai is impressed by him. Shuzai asks her assistant about Wei Qing. The assistant says, this is the Mr. Wei Qing you wanted to meet. But on the other hand, Wei Qing's uncle is misbehaving with Zhou. Wei Qing goes there and pushes his uncle back, then Zhou slaps the uncle. Then we find out that Wei Qing's relationship with his uncle is also not good. Then, Wei Qing picks up Zhou and carries her away, and tells her that she messaged about Shuzai at the right time, which is why he was able to help Shuzai. He thinks, maybe for this reason, Shuzai's company would want to work with me. Wei Qing changes Zhou's lifestyle. He sends her expensive clothes because she has to go everywhere with Wei Qing. But seeing them together everywhere, Zhou becomes famous by the name of Wei Qing's girlfriend. Gossip about her starts spreading in the university. Due to so much news, the university temporarily suspends both of them so that there is no negative publicity. This worries Zhou, and Wei Qing gets very angry. But for now, she couldn't say anything to him either. In the next scene, Wei Qing finds out that Shuzai loves Shangran's paintings, so she wants to appoint Shangran as a designer. Hearing this, Wei Qing gets angry that Ning is coming in the way of all his work. Still, to collaborate with Shuzai's company, Wei Qing goes to talk to Ning. He tells Ning, you will have to work with us as a designer. Your paintings are popular, and everyone will offer you this job, and my mom has signed a contract paper for you. So now, you will have to listen to my every word for the company. He adds, otherwise the secrets of your past that my mom has hidden, I will expose them. In the next scene, we see Zhou's health deteriorates. She is alone at home. She calls Fei Fei, who was at a shopping mall at that time. Fei Fei sends medicine for Zhou through her boyfriend, but her boyfriend starts misbehaving with Zhou. Ning comes and saves Zhou. Then Ning finds out that Wei Qing. He tells Zhou, think about it once, why are you in Wei Qing's debt? He warns, he is a very clever man. Be careful of his tricks. Hearing this, Zhou searches about Wei Qing's antiques on the net. She finds out that all those antiques that were broken are now on display in an exhibition, which she absolutely cannot believe. Then she understands that the antiques she broke were fake. Zhou angrily goes to meet Wei Qing. She tells him, you trapped me by showing fake antiques. Knowing everything, Zhou tears up their contract. Wei Qing says, I will promote you. You are my girlfriend from now on, because you are the most important to me. Zhou says in anger, I will not become your girlfriend even in my dreams, and leaves from there. Wei Qing says, no matter what you do, you cannot go far from me. After this, we see Zhou gets permission to attend class, but gossip about her continues in the university. Cheng tells Zhou about a girl that she is very intelligent, but he doesn't know her name. Now, seeing him so serious about another girl, Zhou doesn't feel good at all. But when she returns to the apartment, she is even more shocked, because Wei Qing had sent a lot of gifts and a lot of flowers. Zhou calls him and says, take all this to your girl. So Wei Qing replies, I can certainly send all this for my girlfriend. Zhou tells him, if you don't take all this back, I will throw everything away. Wei Qing says, from now on, all this is yours. You decide what you want to do with it. Zhou didn't want to throw away the flowers because they were her favorite, so she goes to give them to a flower shop. Meanwhile, Wei Qing finds something in Zhou's ring, so he comes to meet her. Just then, he sees Zhou going to deliver flowers on her cycle. Wei Qing brings his car. Zhou asks him to take the flowers, but Wei Qing comes close to her. Zhou gets a little nervous and falls on the cycle's carrier. Wei Qing takes her away, sitting on the cycle. Fei Fei finds Zhou's sketch in Ning's sketchbook, so she asks him, do you like Zhou? But Ning gets confused and doesn't tell her anything. Then Wei Ching goes to distribute the flowers and tells people to take the flowers for free. Then he starts to pick up Joe and carry her away. Joe says, "Leave me," but Wei Ching doesn't listen to her. When Joe starts to hit him, Wei Ching loses his balance, due to which both of them fall, and they kiss. Joe pushes him away and says, "This is all your fault. If you hadn't hit me, this wouldn't have happened." Joe sits on the bench. Wei Ching is quite happy about the kiss. He goes to Joe and tries to look at the injury. Wei Ching says, "Let's go to the hospital," but Joe refuses, so he says, "Then you should rest at home." She says, "Not everyone is as lucky as you. I have to walk to the university." Wei Ching says, "If you want, I can send a driver for you too, if you become my girlfriend." Joe refuses. Wei Ching says, "Then let's be friends," and gives her ring back to her. In the next scene, Joe goes to the club to work because she had to send money to her home, where Wei Ching hears her talking that she doesn't even have money to eat. So the next day, Wei Ching again sends some things to her house. Joe asks him about it, but Wei Ching makes an excuse that he is very busy right now. He says, "If you have to talk about something, you should come to my office." So she reaches his office, but he doesn't give her a chance to say anything. He brings a lot of food for her, which Joe really wants to eat, but she refuses and says to Wei Ching, "I am not going to fall into your trap with all this, so take all this away." Then she leaves from there. Wei Ching asks the assistant, maybe she got angry, so what should I do now? The assistant tells him that he should apologize. So Wei Ching takes his car and comes out where he says sorry to her. Joe is shocked because this was the first time Wei Ching had said sorry to her. Then he tells her, "I was helping you. The box I sent had groceries because I heard you didn't even have money to eat." He adds, "So, instead of something expensive, I sent you a month's worth of rations." Now, Joe is not so angry about this because she needed money to buy groceries anyway. So for the first time, Joe says, "Thank you," to Wei Ching. The next day, Joe had to attend her lecture, but she was getting late, so she runs outside. Just then, she sees Wei Ching in front of her, waiting for her on a cycle. So he goes to drop her to the university, but still, Joe is an hour late. So Wei Ching tells her that her phone's time is an hour fast, which was visible due to the broken screen. Therefore, Wei Ching takes her phone and gives her his expensive watch, but he lies to her saying, "This is just a local watch." Joe thinks, didn't he have any work in the morning that despite being the president of such a big company, he was standing outside my house? In the next scene, Fei Fei notices the watch on Joe's hand. She tells her, "Its price is very high. By selling this watch, we can buy this whole house. He gave you such an expensive watch. It doesn't just mean he wants to be your friend. He has some other intentions." Joe then takes the money for the groceries she had used along with that watch and goes to return it to Wei Ching, where Wei Ching had a completely different setup arranged. Now Joe gives the watch and money back to Wei Ching and tells him clearly, "I am no longer interested in being your friend." But just then, she gets a call from her mom, who tells her that the people from whom they had taken a loan are after them again, because her dad had taken a huge loan in Joe's name to start a business, but their business failed. Now those people have come again to ask for the money. Joe gets worried, so the assistant gives her bag, and Joe quickly goes to the apartment, takes some of her things, and goes home. There, she learns from her mom that ever since the talk about Wei Ching and Joe started on the internet, her dad had also taken a huge loan using Wei Ching's name. Now, to get the loan back, goons also arrive there, demanding money. Joe tells them, "I don't have any money." So the goons say, "Wei Ching is your boyfriend. Then how come you don't have money?" They check her bag, and a lot of money comes out of the bag. Joe didn't know where this money came from. So the goons take the money and say, "You will have to pay the other half." Her mom asks her about Wei Ching. So Joe says, "There is nothing like that between me and Wei Ching." Joe thinks that she should meet Wei Ching. When Fei Fei has to go for an interview, she asks Joe for her watch for a day so that she can impress the boss. After this, Joe goes to meet Wei Ching, where she asks about the money. Wei Ching says that he had overheard her talking on the phone, so he thought she might need money. That's why he had put money in her bag. Joe thanks him and promises that she will return all his money. Wei Ching says, "If you make a deal with me, you won't have to give the money. You will have to be my girlfriend." But Joe refuses. So Wei Ching signs a blank check and gives it to her, saying, "You can write whatever amount you want." Joe gets very angry seeing this and throws the check at his face and leaves. Wei Ching still says with a smile, "We'll see how long she won't agree." On the other hand, Fei Fei had come to Wei Ching's uncle's company for an interview, where Wei Ching's uncle sees and recognizes the watch from the CCTV. Because that watch was a limited piece, the uncle thinks that Wei Ching has probably found a new girlfriend. That's why he hires her without an interview. Now, at Wei Ching's behest, Joe is also fired from the club because, coming out of there, Joe sees the two goons who work for the loan shark talking to each other. When President Wei Ching has already paid off Joe's dad's debt, then why did he give us money and tell us to scare his family? Now hearing this, Joe is shocked. and she gets very angry at Wei Qing. But before going there, she gives these two goons a good beating and makes them spill all the details, after which she reaches Wei Qing's office in a rage and gets angry at him. So he tells her, "I wouldn't have had to do anything like this if you had become my girlfriend." Joe warns him, "If you bother me or my family, then it won't be good for you." Saying this, she starts to leave. So Wei Qing stops her and says, "I will not give up until you become my girlfriend." Hearing this, Joe gets even more angry. So she pulls Wei Qing and comes to punch him, but the assistant saves him. Joe gets angry at him and leaves. But just then, she gets a call from the university, where her fees for this year were due, for which the professor warns her. This makes Joe even more worried, because now she has no job. But just then, the club manager gets Joe a job at another club, where Wei Qing's uncle also happens to be. So a VIP client asks Joe to drink in exchange for a lot of money. So for the money, Joe goes to drink, and Wei Qing's uncle records a video of it and sends it to Wei Qing. Fei Fei, who is with Ning, finds out about Joe, after which Ning immediately goes to find her. There, Wei Qing takes the drink from Joe's hand and makes her vomit to sober her up. But Joe gets angry at Wei Qing. "Because of you, so much money slipped out of my hands." Wei Qing says, "Are you crazy? For money, what were you doing? If you need so much money, then I'll give you money." So Joe angrily tells him, "I don't want your money at all. Everything bad that has happened to me so far has been because of you. You got me fired from my job, which is why I couldn't pay my college fees. You harassed my family. So from now on, stay away from me." Then she goes towards the changing room, but she accidentally enters the men's changing room, where after a short while, the manager of the place comes and tries to harass her, seeing her alone. But Wei Qing comes and hits him, but Joe gets angry at him because she thought he must have planned all this as well, so that he could become a hero in front of her. That's why she angrily tells him that she never wants to see him again. Just then, Ning arrives there with Fei Fei, and Fei Fei takes Joe with her. Meanwhile, Wei Qing is feeling very guilty. That's why he wanted to sincerely apologize to Joe. Joe is sitting sad because she had no job. She needed a lot of money. So Ning gives her an art gallery card. He tells her, "Auntie is back, so if you go to her, you will get a job." Joe becomes happy. She thanks Ning for his great help and goes to the art gallery to meet Auntie, where Shangran's paintings were displayed all around. So Auntie gives her the job and tells her, "Come to work from tomorrow." Then Joe remembers that Chung's birthday is coming up in a few days, and she has not thought of any gift for him yet. So she returns home and is very worried about this. She talks to Chu about it. What would be his favorite gift that would make him very happy? And how can I also clear up the confusion about my love? Chu says that she will help her find out about it, which Ming Cheng also agrees to. She also promises Joe that she will help her. The next day, Joe goes to work, but on this day, Wei Qing also comes to meet his mom, due to which Joe has to see his face even though she doesn't want to. And she also finds out that, indirectly, that art gallery is also his. Wei Qing comes to talk to his mom, where he wanted his mom to hire more famous painters so that they could make more profit by selling their paintings. But mom didn't care about money. She only promotes real talented artists, not for money. So mom and Wei Qing argue about this. So Wei Qing says, "I will have you dismissed from the gallery." So mom says, "You only have a 20% share of the gallery, so you can't do anything." As Wei Qing is leaving, he says, "Mom, don't forget that your husband is my father. So I want to tell you right now that if you run the gallery like this, you will destroy the gallery." Now we find out in a flashback that Wei Qing has been a rebel type since childhood. He never listened to his mom and dad, and especially after Ning's arrival, he stopped listening to his mom and dad altogether. And he had also started drinking, which made his dad very worried about him. Similarly, one day when mom returns home, she finds him lying on the ground. He had passed away. Mom holds Wei Qing responsible for this because dad was always busy trying to reform him. Dad had left all his property in Wei Qing's name. Wei Qing tries every time to fix his relationship with his mom, but they only end up fighting. Now Wei Qing is sitting upset in a park and starts remembering about his dad. Now Joe also comes to the same park where Wei Qing was sitting. So seeing Wei Qing sad for the first time, she talks to him. So she sees Wei Qing's emotional side for the first time. Here, Wei Qing tells her about his allergy. Joe makes him understand that money is not everything. After that, he realizes that he was wrong, so now with full sincerity, he asks Joe to be his friend. Seeing his sincerity, Joe also finally becomes his friend. Now Wei Qing decides that this time he will genuinely help Joe, without money. So he sends his assistant, who finds out everything from Fei Fei that Joe wants to propose to Chung on her birthday. So Wei Qing decides that he will help her. Then Wei Qing calls Joe to meet, and shows her a video in which Chung is describing what his ideal type of girl should be like. She should be smart, talk as sweet as honey, have short hair, wear glasses, and be in a casual dress. Joe gets a little sad because she had none of those qualities. Then Wei Ching says, "I will help you," and takes her for a complete makeover. There, she is styled according to Chung's wish, a short hair wig, glasses, and a casual dress. She starts looking exactly like Chu, and she doubts that maybe Chung likes Chu. So she goes to ask Chung indirectly. Chung says that he just said it casually. When asked about Chu, he says that he considers Chu his rival and just wants to defeat her once. Hearing this, Joe becomes happy. Then Joe asks Ning about Wei Ching's dad's death. He didn't know anything about it because Auntie hadn't told him anything. The next day, Wei Ching calls Joe to his house to practice the proposal. He comes dressed up like Chung, seeing which Joe can't stop laughing. Then she practices the proposal with Wei Ching, but she confesses with a little too much feeling. They are both about to kiss, but just then the assistant comes, and seeing them, he starts acting like he's coughing. Then, Joe prepares the gift Chu told her about for Cheng, and then gets ready and arrives at the birthday celebration place with Wei Ching. Arriving there, Joe gives Wei Ching his gift and tells him to open it after going home. After this, when Joe arrives at the party, everyone is shocked to see her new look. Chung even tells her, "You look very strange in it." Then, Chung gets busy with his other friends and doesn't pay attention to Joe. Then they all celebrate Chung's birthday. Now Chu gifts Chung a camera, so he becomes very happy. Joe sees that her gift for Chung got exchanged with Wei Ching's gift. Now Chung sees the "forever alone" gift, so he gets quite embarrassed. When Wei Ching goes home and opens the gift, he understands that the gifts have been exchanged, so he goes to the party to give the gift. When Wei Ching arrives there with the gift, Joe is very drunk. Seeing her condition, Wei Ching tells her to go home, but Joe didn't want to go home yet. Then Wei Ching brings her to his house. Then they both drink together. Joe tells him her one-sided love story. Then she accidentally kisses Wei Ching. The next day when she opens her eyes, she doesn't understand because her dress was also changed and she is in a big house. She starts looking around for someone. On the other side, Wei Ching is in a video call meeting. Just then, Joe goes to him and says, "Who changed my dress?" She didn't know that Wei Ching was in a live meeting. Wei Ching quickly stops the meeting, and then to tease Joe, he says, "There is no one else in the house besides me, so you can figure it out yourself." At which Joe is shocked and starts hitting him. So Wei Ching says, "I didn't start anything, you were the one who started it." Joe starts hitting him again. Just then, Wei Ching's maid comes to call him for food. So Wei Ching tells Joe that the maid changed her clothes. He doesn't tell her about the kiss. Now Joe feels a little relieved. In the next scene, Wei Ching goes to drop Joe at the university, so the principal tells Joe, "Now you don't need to worry about the fees because your scholarship amount has increased." Then Joe calls Wei Ching to say thanks. Then Wei Ching tells her that Chung has applied for a job in his company. So Joe is a little surprised because she thought Chung would continue his studies further. She asks Wei Ching to interview Chung himself, to which Wei Ching agrees. After this, the interview scene is shown, in which Chung has come well prepared. Wei Ching is impressed by him. He hires him for the job. In the next scene, Shuzai and Wei Ching are talking to each other. Just then, Joe hears their conversation when Shuzai tells Wei Ching that his mom has sold the art gallery shares to Shuzai. Hearing this, Wei Ching is quite shocked. In the next scene, Joe is with Ning. He is making jewelry designs for the company. Just then, she notices the name Ran in his painting and asks him about it. Ning doesn't tell her the truth that he is Shang Ran. He tells her, "I am a huge fan of Shang Ran, that's why I write like that." In the next scene, we see Joe and Rin join Wei Ching's company together, where Joe calls Wei Ching by his name. So he stops her. "In the company, call me boss or president, so that the office environment remains proper." Joe agrees to this. Then Wei Ching makes Joe his personal assistant. In the next scene, Wei Ching comes to talk to his mom that if she keeps selling the art gallery's shares like this, she will destroy it. So mom says Shuzai has promised her that she will take care of the art gallery. Wei Ching tells her Shuzai will do everything for her own benefit, but Wei Ching's mom doesn't believe him. She thinks Wei Ching will destroy the art gallery, but Wei Ching wanted to protect the art gallery. Then we see in a flashback when his dad had transferred all his inheritance to Wei Ching's name. Wei Ching didn't want all this, so he calls a lawyer to transfer all this to his mom's name. Then, the lawyer gives him a letter from his dad, seeing which he gets ready to take over the company. But his mom gets angry at him because she thought Wei Ching would destroy everything. She also blamed Wei Ching for her husband's death. So she took Ning and left Wei Qing. Due to this, Wei Qing gets very stressed out. He also feels that he is the reason for his dad's death. So he used to see blood everywhere in his dreams, and the allergy problem also started then, which was a psychological problem. In the next scene, Zhou falls asleep in the office while working, so Wei Qing picks her up and makes her sleep in the office. Zhou sees herself kissing Wei Qing by the poolside, so she wakes up in shock. Then Wei Qing asks her, "What happened to you?" Zhou was just looking at his lips. Then she goes to drink coffee to freshen up. Wei Qing also follows her. Seeing him, coffee comes out of her mouth and lands on Wei Qing's face. Then Zhou says sorry to him and runs outside. In the next scene, Wei Qing gifts Zhou a necklace, wearing which she asks him to go to a party with her. But this time she will go as his bodyguard, where she is overacting a bit too much, so Wei Qing tells her, "Stay a little away from me because I have to talk to Shuzai about the art gallery." But just then, all of Wei Qing's ex-girlfriends arrive there, who were called there by the uncle. That's why Wei Qing has to run away from there. Wei Qing was avoiding all his ex-girlfriends, in which process someone had also touched him, but hiding from a distance, he gets out of there. Meanwhile, the uncle becomes suspicious about why Wei Qing always wears gloves. He tells Shuzai, all his ex-girlfriends, he shook hands with them, and right after that, he broke up with all of them. That's why he suspects that there is some problem with Wei Qing. On the other hand, Wei Qing was having allergic reactions again. Wei Qing tells Zhou the truth. "Except for you, when anyone else touches me, I have allergic reactions in my body." He continues, "And whatever has happened between us so far was all an experiment by me," which makes Zhou feel bad, because she was now starting to like Wei Qing a little. Zhou then agrees to help Wei Qing cure his allergy. Then we find out the whole truth about Wei Qing's uncle. He was jealous of Wei Qing since childhood. That's why whatever Wei Qing liked, he would snatch that thing from him. But when he became the president of the company, since then, the uncle couldn't snatch anything from him. In the next scene, we see Zhou. Ever since she found out the truth about Wei Qing, she had become a little too protective of him. Wei Qing shifts all his belongings to the flat above Zhou's and gives her something to take care of his place. Zhou, seeing all of Ning's paintings, understands that he is Shangren. So she goes to ask him directly about it, but he doesn't tell her. Ning then tells Fei Fei, "Help me, because I have to say something to Zhou." Fei Fei thinks that maybe he likes Zhou, and this is what he wants to say, so she agrees to help him. But she is also a little sad that she was also starting to like Ning. So then she makes a plan with all her friends, where she leaves Zhou with Ning and takes everyone else out. So Ning tells her that he is Shangran. In the next scene, Wei Qing tells Ning to leave Zhou's house. Fei Fei asks, "Where will Ning go?" "He lives with us." So Wei Qing asks her, "How can you live here?" So Zhou says, "When you kicked him out of the house, where would this poor guy go?" Their argument is ongoing, when Wei Qing's mom also arrives there. Seeing Ning injured, Mom feels that Wei Qing is responsible, so she pulls him and slaps him, which shocks everyone. She says, "When will you stop bullying Ning? First you took Dad's life, now do you want to kill Ning too?" Wei Qing says, "Will you believe me for once? I haven't done anything." But Mom doesn't believe his words. So Zhou goes to explain to them, but Mom is not ready to listen to anyone. Wei Qing becomes very sad and goes outside. He again sees his dad's bloodstains. So Zhou comes to support him and takes him to the house upstairs. Now here he sees many of Ning's paintings. Among them is a painting of Wei Qing. Because of this painting, Wei Qing was scolded a lot because he was repeatedly drawing it incorrectly. This issue led to an argument between them, which caused Dad's blood pressure to rise. Then Mom takes him outside and tells him not to give Dad tension. In the present, Wei Qing thinks, "Why have I kept this painting safe until today?" Just then, Zhou comes with a first aid box, but the door doesn't open. So she starts to worry a lot about Wei Qing. Did he commit suicide? So she goes in from the back through the window, where she sees that Wei Qing is taking a bath. Then when he comes out, Zhou applies a bandage to him. In the next scene, Zhou comes to the university and finds out that she has to give her final exams, for which she had not prepared at all. So she starts studying, but she was not understanding anything. So she takes Shuai's help. She takes a few days off and starts studying with Shuai's help. But Shuai also had to submit an AI project in a few days. So Wei Qing's assistant tells him, "Wei Qing will help you." Then Zhou goes to Wei Qing. So Wei Qing starts teaching her strictly. Then after many days of training, Zhou completes her syllabus. Then Wei Qing makes a test for her and goes away, telling his assistant to keep an eye on her. After the test, Zhou goes to meet Wei Qing's mom and talks to her about Wei Qing, but she doesn't listen to anything she says. Then we see Zhou and Wei Qing get quite close while studying, and they also become good friends. From morning walks to studying at night, they both spend time together. Now Zhou's birthday arrives before the exams. Wei Qing didn't want to disturb Zhou, so he doesn't have a big celebration, but he stays up all night and plans a special surprise. He decorates the house nicely and also brings a birthday cake for Zhou. He wishes her a happy birthday, which makes Zhou quite happy and emotional. So she hugs Wei Qing and says, "Thank you." They celebrate the birthday together, then get busy with studies. Now the day of the exam arrives, so Wei Qing goes to drop her at the exam center. Now because of Wei Qing's teaching, Zhou's exam goes very well, so she goes to thank him. But Wei Qing was busy in a meeting with Fei Fei because he wanted to throw a big birthday party for Zhou, for which he asks Fei Fei for help. Fei Fei tells him about Zhou's likes and dislikes and asks, "After all, why are you doing all this for her? Have you fallen in love with Zhou?" Wei Qing says, "I don't know much about love, but I want to see Zhou happy." Then he tells Fei Fei to tell Zhou that the party is from her side, because if Zhou finds out that Wei Qing has thrown the party, she will refuse. Fei Fei takes Zhou to show her a big hall where she wanted to celebrate her birthday. She had also invited all her friends from school and college. Zhou is very happy, so she tells Wei Qing, "On this occasion, I will confess my love to Cheng," which makes Wei Qing a little sad, but still he wishes her good luck. Everyone comes to the party. So on the terrace, Zhou tells Fei Fei, "I will confess to Cheng today." Fei Fei asks her, "You are in a relationship with Ning, so what will you confess to Cheng?" So Zhou clears her misunderstanding. "There is nothing like that between us." So Fei Fei becomes very happy that Ning is still single. Now Zhou had come with a plan to confess to Cheng, but here Cheng also had a plan to confess to Chu. For that, he had come wearing a scientific formula shirt, which when solved, would spell out, "I love you." And only Chu could solve this. He is about to go and confess to Chu, but Wei Qing had found out about this. So he goes and stops Cheng beforehand. But just then, while dancing with Rin, Cheng's shirt gets torn. So Zhou sees that, and Chu was also behind her. She solves the formula, which means, "I love you." So she asks, "Who are you going to confess to?" Cheng finally confesses. Zhou becomes sad hearing this. Chu explains to Zhou that it's nothing like that. She doesn't like Cheng, but Zhou gets very upset and runs away from there. Wei Qing runs after her. Then Zhou is running while crying. In that process, one of her sandals is also left behind. She gets on the bus without picking it up and goes away sitting on the bus. Everyone is very worried about her, especially Wei Qing. Zhou is crying and remembering her memories with Wei Qing. Meanwhile, Wei Qing also sets off after the bus in his car. Now she reaches the last stop of the bus and gets off, where she is crying a lot. Just then, it also starts to rain. After some time, Wei Qing, searching for her, also reaches there. Wei Qing tries to console her, but when Zhou doesn't calm down, Wei Qing kisses her, which calms Zhou down. Then Zhou asks him, "Why do you bother me?" Wei Qing says sorry to her and tells her, "I will not do anything like this in the future." Then he hugs her. After this, Wei Qing tells Fei Fei, "Zhou is resting at my house now, so I will drop her at your place tomorrow morning." Then Wei Qing asks Zhou about her love story, so Zhou tells him that Cheng had helped her with her studies, which is why she got 100 out of 100 in maths for the first time, and since then, she has liked him. Hearing her love story, Wei Qing is shocked and asks, "He just helped you with your studies, and you fell in love with him." Zhou then continues her story, telling him that she has failed to confess to Cheng 3 times so far. The next day, Wei Qing gets Zhou ready and takes her to confess to Cheng because he was her childhood crush, and Zhou had liked him for so many years. So a confession is a must, so that Zhou has no regrets in her heart. Even if Cheng rejects her, it will be easier for Zhou to move on. For this, Wei Qing gives her her letter, which he had requested from the hotel. Zhou is quite surprised and asks, "You said you didn't have it?" Wei Qing says, "I got it from there," but lies that he didn't read it. But Cheng tells Zhou, "I consider you my sister, and I like Chu." So finally, Zhou has no regrets. She wishes Cheng good luck for his confession and starts to leave. Just then, she notices some corrections in her letter, which she had not made, meaning Wei Qing had read that letter. Then she also remembers the moments she spent with Wei Qing. From that, she also understands that Cheng has always considered her a younger sister. So she finally accepts it and tears the letter and throws it away. In the next scene, Zhou goes to thank Wei Qing for encouraging her to confess, and also gives him her salary money because Wei Qing had paid off her dad's debt. She says, "I will pay back all your money little by little." Then Ning gives her a birthday gift, which is the ownership of Ning's painting. He had transferred all the paintings to Zhou's name. Zhou is very happy. In the next scene, Zhou goes with Wei Qing to meet his doctor. So the doctor tells her, "Wei Qing doesn't have a reaction when you touch him because he trusts you. So the closer you stay to him, the higher the chances of him getting better. This is not a disease. He just has psychological problems which he felt after his dad's death." Zhou asks her, "What can I do now?" So the doctor says, "You have to change Wei Qing's lifestyle." Then Zhou gets busy on this mission. She wakes Wei Qing up early. He doesn't open the door, so Zhou goes inside through the back window and tells him to get ready and come out. Then she tells him about some rules. Then she asks Wei Qing about the things he dislikes. So he names his uncle, Shuai, and cats. So Zhou asks him the reason, but he doesn't tell her anything. In the next scene, Shuzai tells Wei Qing, "I have now become the largest shareholder of the art gallery. so now everyone will have to accept the decisions I make. She tells Wei Qing, I want to collaborate with Shangran's jewelry designs. If this is acceptable to you, then your mom's director's seat will remain. In the next scene, Zhou takes Wei Qing to an outside place so that he can overcome his problem. Wei Qing starts to have a reaction, so Zhou makes him close his eyes and puts earphones on him and starts to lead him through the crowd, which calms Wei Qing down, and he starts to walk comfortably in the crowd. Then Zhou feeds him a lot of fast food, for which he thanks her. Zhou says, this is just the beginning. I will make him completely fine. Then she shifts to Wei Qing's house. Zhou starts to go to the guest room, but Wei Qing says, you will sleep in the room with me. Zhou refuses. So Wei Qing says, when we have to live together, what's the problem in getting closer? Zhou says, if you behave like this, I will not stay here. Wei Qing says, I won't do anything, I'll just sleep on one side. But Zhou still goes to the guest room. In the next scene, Uncle tells Wei Qing's mom, if Wei Qing gives me his shares, the art gallery will be under my control. He talks to Wei Qing on the call, so Wei Qing says, I will do this only when mom talks to me. In the next scene, Zhou comes out at night and sees Wei Qing playing a game. Wei Qing asks her to play the game with him too, but Zhou starts to leave to sleep. Wei Qing stops her and says, I have bad nightmares, so let's just sleep here. Zhou still doesn't agree, so he says, if you don't bring a blanket, I won't let you sleep. I'll keep knocking on your door and bother you. So Zhou brings a blanket. Then they both sleep on the sofa. The next day, she gives him a task. Today, you have to use the public elevator in the office. He says, I can't do this without you. To which Zhou says, I have explained everything to your assistant. He will handle everything. Then Zhou goes to the university. On the other hand, Wei Qing uses the public elevator. Seeing him, the other employees get out of the elevator, but Wei Qing calls some of them inside and wishes them good morning, upon which the news spreads throughout the office that the president wished us good morning for the first time. Then Wei Qing comes to meet his mom with Zhou. So mom tells him to transfer his shares to uncle's name. So Wei Qing says, if you take your shares back from uncle, I will transfer my shares to you. To which she agrees. This was Wei Qing's plan for all the shares to be with his mom. Zhou asks, why didn't you tell them the truth? So Wei Qing says, she never believes me. She would think it's my plan. Zhou is happy to see Wei Qing changing. Then they both go to watch a movie. After this, to bring a change in Wei Qing's condition, she agrees to sleep in the room with him, which makes Wei Qing happy, but Zhou is very nervous. But then she goes to the bed and sleeps. Wei Qing also sleeps on the other side. He asks Zhou to hold his hand, holding which he won't have bad nightmares. Then he falls asleep holding Zhou's hand. The next day when she opens her eyes, she sees Wei Qing sleeping while hugging her. So Zhou tries to get out of bed carefully, but accidentally falls off the bed. Then they use the public elevator together. Now Wei Qing has no reactions. After this, they start living together, which makes their bond quite strong, and they live quite happily together. Zhou's friends ask her, are you two in a relationship? Zhou denies it, but her friends show pictures of them and ask, you treat him very specially. Just then, Zhou gets a call from Wei Qing. He is calling her home because he is hungry. So Zhou happily tells him, I'll come and make you noodles. Fei Fei makes a video of her and shows it to her, saying, look how happy you are when you talk to him, like a wife. Talking to her husband, it seems like that. After this, she gets angry with them and goes to Wei Qing. At night, thinking about these things, Zhou asks Wei Qing, do you feel something more for me than a friend? He says, why are you suddenly asking this? So Zhou says, we have been together for a long time, so do you feel something different for me? Wei Qing says, yes, I have started to like you more than before. Then Zhou thinks, maybe Wei Qing likes me. Then Wei Qing holds her hand and falls asleep. Zhou blushes looking at him. The next morning, seeing her smiling even in her sleep, Wei Qing clicks her picture and then asks her the reason for her smile when she wakes up. Zhou was dreaming about her and Wei Qing's wedding, so she doesn't tell him anything and goes out blushing. She keeps remembering that dream in which Wei Qing had kissed her, so she smiles and thinks, do I like Wei Qing? The next day, Zhou brings Wei Qing to the cats with his eyes closed. Wei Qing was very scared of cats, so he faints as soon as he sees them. So Zhou quickly takes him to the hospital, but she is very scared, so the doctor consoles her. Wei Qing still hadn't regained consciousness. Then we see in a flashback, in childhood, Ning had a cat. Someone had killed it, but his parents think Wei Qing killed the cat. He says in his defense that he didn't kill it, but his parents don't believe him. Dad had also slapped Wei Qing. This had a great effect on Wei Qing, and he started having nightmares about cats. And now he also sees his dead dad in his dreams who asks him, why did you kill me? In the present, Wei Qing gets up saying, I didn't do anything, and starts to go out. But the staff catches him, brings him to the room, and gives him an injection which makes him sleep. In the next scene, While Wei Qing is being discharged, someone takes his photo and uploads it. Then Zhou brings Wei Qing home, but rumors start spreading about Wei Qing that he has some kind of mental illness. Wei Qing gets a little depressed, so he starts getting scared like a small child. But Zhou takes very good care of him, which gives him a lot of courage. In the next scene, Ning comes to Wei Qing and tells him, "My mom's health is not good, and only you can make her well." Shuzai had closed the art gallery and removed Wei Qing's mom from the director's position, so she got a shock. And then Ning, saying sorry, tells him that in childhood the cat was not killed by Wei Qing, but by the uncle. Hearing this, Wei Qing gets even angrier, but Ning requests him a lot. "Your mom needs you." So Wei Qing also agrees. After this, Zhou starts Wei Qing's training again. She takes him to a field where they both play with mud. Then Zhou comes wearing a cat outfit and says to him, "You are scared of cats, now look at me." So Wei Qing hugs her and says, "Now I am not scared of cats." Then Wei Qing transfers his shares to his mom's name, which makes her the director again, and she becomes very happy. The next day, Zhou finds out at the university about going on field work. So she talks to her friends, "I want to take a break from my relationship with Wei Qing so that my confusion can be cleared. That's why I'm going on field work." But after Zhou leaves, Wei Qing doesn't feel good. So he comes to her friends and asks about her, but they don't tell him where she has gone. Then Wei Qing finds out from Cheng. Then he reaches that place with his assistant and shifts all those students to his hotel. Zhou comes to her room and is very happy, but then she is shocked to see Wei Qing. Wei Qing asks her, "Why did you come without telling me?" So Zhou says, "I wanted to give you and myself a little space and I needed to relax a bit, so I came here." So Wei Qing says, "All right, then I will also relax with you." So Zhou tells him, "But your treatment is ongoing." So Wei Qing says, "You told me. Will you help me in my treatment?" To which Zhou says, "Yes, I will do that." Wei Qing asks, "Is your life disturbed by being with me?" She says, "Yes." So he says sorry to her and leaves from there. After this, Zhou goes to eat with Ning and Shuai, and Wei Qing is also there because he didn't want to leave her alone with them. Zhou tells him to go to the hotel, so he says, "I want to be with you." Then she comes out and asks him, "Why are you being so stubborn?" So he says, "Because you still have to treat me." Zhou says, "I don't understand our relationship. Either you are the patient and I am your doctor, or we are in love." Wei Qing says, "We have a doctor and patient relationship." So Zhou asks him, "Don't you feel special for me?" So Wei Qing says, "No, for me, you are just a good friend." He asks her, "Do you feel special for me?" Zhou says yes. Hearing this, Wei Qing leaves from there. So Zhou becomes sad. After this, Wei Qing is thinking about this while drinking. He regrets, "Why did I lie to her?" Actually, he is a little confused about his feelings. Then he thinks about all the memories, which makes him realize that he also loves her. After this, Zhou comes back home from the fieldwork. Then Wei Qing takes her to the doctor to know what they should do now. So the doctor tells them both to go on a vacation together. Zhou also agrees to this. Then they both are on vacation where Wei Qing's mom and uncle have also come. Uncle asks Zhou about her relationship with Wei Qing and tells her to stay away from a playboy like Wei Qing. Zhou supports Wei Qing in front of Wei Qing's mom. Then Wei Qing says, in front of everyone, "Zhou is my girlfriend," and confesses to Zhou, "I like you a lot," and kisses her in front of everyone. Then Zhou leaves from there. Wei Qing goes after her, but Zhou closes her door, which causes Wei Qing's hand to get caught in the door. Seeing this, Zhou brings him inside the room and asks him, "Why did you kiss me in front of everyone?" So Wei Qing says, "Because I like you." Zhou says, "But you said before that we are just friends." Wei Qing says, "I was a little confused then, but now I am sure that I like you." So Zhou says, "Now I am confused about this relationship, I need some time." Wei Qing says, "How much time do you need?" "You can take it. I am not in a hurry because you are with me." After this, Zhou goes for racing, so Wei Qing also comes there for racing with Ning. A collision happens between Ning and his cars. Just then, Wei Qing's mom also comes there. She, as always, blames Wei Qing, but Ning supports him, saying that it's not Wei Qing's fault. Wei Qing is injured, so Zhou massages him. In the next scene, Rin, along with Shuai, plans against Wei Qing and Zhou, in which Shuai messages Ning and calls him to the jungle. Then Shuai comes dressed up like Wei Qing, because he wanted to push Ning down the slope. On the other side, Zhou is a little sick, so Wei Qing takes care of her. Zhou tells him to get a medicine from Chu, so he kisses her and leaves. Ning comes to the jungle and recognizes Shuai, that he is not Wei Qing. Before Ning could see his face, Shuai pushes him from above, due to which he falls down, causing a cut on his leg. Then Rin's friend tells Zhou, "I saw Ning and Wei Qing fighting and going towards the jungle." Zhou quickly goes out to find them. There she sees Ning in an injured state and starts to go for help, but her foot slips and she also falls down. Ning tells her that someone else messaged him pretending to be Wei Qing, and the the one who pushed me was not Wei Qing because he knew that Wei Qing hates him but would never hurt him. Because of Ning, Wei Qing had to suffer a lot, so he tells Zhou, I have to, apologize to Wei Qing. Now seeing both Ning and Zhou missing, Wei Qing and his mom get worried. So Wei Qing promises them, I will bring Ning back safe and sound. Then they all go out to find them, where in the jungle he finds Zhou's room key. So he understands that Zhou must have gone this way. Then searching for them, he reaches there. Fei Fei takes Ning with her. Wei Qing is carrying Zhou. She tells him, before fainting, Ning was just taking your name. Then Ning gets treated, but he hadn't regained consciousness yet. Wei Qing's mom also comes there. Then Wei Qing asks them the reason for Dad's death. So Mom says, you must know, you were there. But Wei Qing says, I don't remember anything from that day. To this day, I see his dead body in my dreams. So Mom understands that Wei Qing has suffered as much as she has. So Mom tells him, your dad had last-stage cancer, but he didn't want to get treatment. He just wanted you to become responsible. Mom doesn't tell Wei Qing the reason for his dad's death, but here their relationship gets better because Wei Qing had suffered everything alone. In the next scene, Zhou and Wei Qing are in the hospital room where Wei Qing kisses Zhou. In the next scene, Wei Qing goes to the doctor with Zhou. He asks them to do hypnosis because he wanted to know about his dad's death. Then the doctor hypnotizes him, which takes him back to that night when he had fought with his dad. Then he had gone to drink in anger. When he came back, Dad scolded him again. His health was not good, but Wei Qing didn't pay attention to him and went to his room and slept. Then he woke up to the sound of something breaking, so he goes out to check. But the door was locked from the outside. He shouted a lot, but no one came. So he went down from the window and came inside the house. Then he saw bloodstains everywhere. So he came upstairs and there was his dad's dead body. Then Wei Qing hugged him and cried a lot. Now, in the present, Wei Qing also cries a lot. If I hadn't drunk, I would have opened the door on time, then maybe his dad would not have died. Then Zhou consoles him. Then Ning tells Wei Qing, your mom and dad loved you very much. They just got distant from you because of me. So he apologizes to Wei Qing, and Wei Qing forgives Ning. Then Wei Qing finds a letter from his dad, which he had written for him, in which he had shown a lot of love. He was strict in his life to improve him because he wanted Wei Qing to become responsible. He knew that Wei Qing liked art, but he had a business mind because he had earned a lot of profit in it, so he wanted him to run the company because Wei Qing's mom didn't know how to run a business. In the letter, he had also told about his cancer. He was not afraid of death, just afraid of losing Wei Qing. He just wanted to hug Wei Qing for the last time and tell him that he loved him very much. Reading this letter, Wei Qing gets emotional and starts crying. Then Wei Qing goes to America to investigate his dad's case. He tells Zhou on the call, when I come back, I want your answer. To which Zhou smiles. In the next scene, Shuai comes and tells Zhou that he had sent his and her drawing to a college in America. Her drawing got accepted, to which he tells Zhou, this is a good opportunity for you, so you should definitely go. Then, Zhou gets ready to go to America. On the other hand, Wei Qing investigates his dad's case and finds out that his dad was murdered. Some thieves had come to their house, so his dad tries to stop them, and one of the thieves shoots his dad. Then they start going towards Wei Qing's room, so Dad with great difficulty locks Wei Qing's room door. Knowing all this, Wei Qing becomes very sad. Then he remembers the memories of his dad, how he used to cook for him. But Wei Qing never sat and ate with him. Now Wei Qing imagines his dad, hugs him, and says sorry to him. Then he gets a call from the assistant that Zhou was asking about you. So he says, I want to be alone for a few days now, so don't give my number to anyone. The assistant tells this to Zhou. So Zhou says, does he intend to settle there? He doesn't even have time to talk to me. After this, she gives a language test for America. Then after a few days, Wei Qing's assistant gives her a ticket to America that Wei Qing had sent. Then she leaves for America. But even after going there, she does not meet Wei Qing. She wanted to make him suffer in the same way he had made Zhou suffer. She then secretly follows Wei Qing. But Wei Qing recognizes her, but he deliberately does not come in front of her. Now both are waiting for each other, for who will come to the other first. Then one day, Wei Qing finds out from the assistant that his mom has given the art gallery shares to the uncle. So he books a return ticket. The assistant also tells Zhou to go back. Then they both come back on the same flight. Now outside the airport, Zhou is waiting for Wei Qing. Just then, Wei Qing comes and back hugs her and says, I missed you a lot. So Zhou says, if you missed me, why didn't you come to meet me? So Wei Qing says, that's why I called you to America where you kept following me. Zhou says, if you knew, why didn't you talk to me? Wei Qing says, I wanted you to meet me first. Zhou is upset with him. Just then a little girl holds Wei Qing's hand and he has no reaction. Zhou is very happy about this and hugs him. Wei Qing tells her, I am completely fine now. Then Wei Qing asks Shizai to give back the art gallery, but she refuses, after which Zhou goes to talk to Shuzai with Ning, after which a deal is made between them. Then Wei Qing goes to Zhou, who has gone for a swim. After bumping into a boy, Joe falls into the water. Just then, Wei Qing goes to save her. Just then, Joe remembers that day when her paper with 100 marks had fallen into the water, so she had gone to get it out. That's when she had pulled Wei Qing out from the water. In the present, Wei Qing pulls her out of the water. Then they both kiss. Joe officially says yes to him and tells him, "I'm going to America for studies," upon which Wei Qing is shocked and asks, "Why didn't you tell me before?" So she says, "As I was about to tell you, you were busy before." Joe asks him, "Will you wait for me?" To which Wei Qing says, "I can wait for you my whole life." Joe kisses him again, and the drama ends right here.